Working the graveyard shift as a gas station isn't exactly thrilling, but I needed the cash, so I took the job. The station is small, located on the edge of a town surrounded by trees. At night, it feels like it's in the middle of nowhere. The light only comes from the neon sign and a few flickering streetlights. It's quiet, too quiet sometimes, making every little sound seem unnervingly loud. I'd been working there for about 6 months. The job was straightforward: sell gas, snacks and drinks, clean the store and keep an eye on things. Most nights were uneventful, but there were times when I got a weird feeling, like someone was watching me. I tried to brush it off as just my imagination. It was a Wednesday night and things were slow. The clock had just struck midnight and I was restocking the shelves. The bell above the door chimed and I looked up expecting to see a customer, but no one was there. I shrugged it off, thinking maybe the wind had moved the door. A few minutes later, I heard a noise outside. I went to the window and saw a man standing by a gas pump. He was just standing there, staring at the station. It was unsettling. He didn't move for what felt like an eternity. Finally, he walked toward the door. As he entered, a chill ran down my spine. He was tall, with dark hair and piercing eyes that seemed to look right through me. His clothes were old and dirty, like he'd been traveling for days. At first, he didn't say anything, just stood there, looking around the store. Then he approached the counter. "Can I use the bathroom?" he asked in a low, raspy voice. I hesitated. Our bathroom was for employees only, and I didn't feel comfortable letting him in. "Sorry, it's out of order," I lied. He didn't seem to believe me. He just kept staring, his eyes boring into me. "Please, I need to use the bathroom," he insisted. I shook my head. "I'm sorry, but it's not working. There's a public restroom down the road." He didn't argue. Instead, he returned and walked out the door. I watched him as he got into his car, a beat-up old sedan, and just sat there, staring at the station. I tried to focus on my work, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He was still there, watching. Hours passed, and he didn't move. I called my boss, explaining the situation, and he told me to keep the doors locked and call the police if anything happened. I felt a little better, but the man's presence was unnerving. Around 3 a.m., I heard a noise outside. It sounded like footsteps, but when I looked out the window, I didn't see anyone. I went back to my work, trying to ignore the feeling of being watched. Suddenly, the power went out, plunging the station into darkness. My heart raced as I grabbed my flashlight and checked the fuse box. Everything seemed fine, but the power wouldn't come back. I heard another noise, this time from the back of the store. I shined my flashlight in the direction, but there was nothing. I decided to call the police. As I reached for the phone, I saw the man again, standing by the back door, staring at me through the glass. My hands trembled as I dialed 911. The operator answered, and I explained what was happening. They assured me that an officer was on the way. I stayed on the line, my eyes never leaving the man. He didn't move, just kept staring. Finally, I saw the flashing lights of a police car. The officer arrived and shined his flashlight around the station. But the man was gone. The officer checked the area but found nothing. He took my statement and told me to call if anything else happened. The power came back shortly after he left, but I couldn't shake the fear that lingered. The rest of the night was quiet, but I couldn't relax. Every sound made me jump, and I kept looking through the window. When my shift finally ended, I was exhausted. both physically and mentally. I told my boss what happened, and he promised to review the security footage and contact the police again. For the next few nights, I couldn't stop thinking of the man. Who was he? What did he want? Why did he just stand there watching? A few weeks later, I saw a news report that a man had been found dead in his car, not far from the gas station. The police said he had been there for days, possibly even weeks. They didn't know how he died, but the description matched the man who had come to the station that night. The thought that he had been watching me even after his death sent chills down my spine. I quit the job not long after that. The experiments was too much for me. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, even in my own home. Sometimes, late at night, I still get the feeling. I looked out the window, half expected to see him standing there, staring and waiting. Before we move on to the next story, if you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for more scary stories. We need your support, so please share these stories with your friends and family. Thanks. I worked a graveyard shift at a gas station. A lonely job, especially at night. The gas station is on a quiet hallway, far from town. At night, it feels like I'm the only person in the world. The station is old, with flickering lights and peeling paint on the walls. Inside, there's a small store and basic supplies. My job is to keep the place clean and assist a few customers who come in. One night around 2 a.m., I was sitting behind the counter, struggling to stay awake. The night was silent, with the only sound of the crickets outside. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and I heard a strange noise coming from outside. It sounded like someone whispering. I went to the window and looked out. The parking lot was empty, and there were no cars at the pumps. A chill ran down my spine. I tried to shake it off and returned to my seat. A few minutes later, I heard the noise again, louder this time, like someone was right outside the door. My heart pounded as I got up and walked to the door. My heart pounded as I got up and walked to the door. I opened it and stepped outside. The cold night air hit my face. "Hello?" I called out. There was no answer. I looked around but saw nothing. Feeling uneasy, went back inside and locked the door behind me. As I sat back down, the phone on the counter rang. It was strange because the phone rarely rang at night. I picked it up. "Hello?" I said. There was silence on the other side. Then the whispering started again. It was faint but clear enough through the phone. My hands trembled as I hung up quickly. I tried to calm myself down, telling myself it was a prank, but deep down I knew something was wrong. I decided to keep busy to distract myself. I started stocking shelves and cleaning the floor. While I was working, I heard the bell above the door ring. Someone had come in, but when I turned around, no one was there. My heart raced as I walked to the door and looked outside. The parking lot was still empty. I checked the security cameras, which showed the parking lot and the inside of the store. I rewound the footage to see if I had missed something. The cameras showed the door opening by itself. No one was there. The door opened, the bell rang, but no one appeared on the screen. A wave of fear washed over me. I decided to call my manager. I picked up the phone and dialed his number. It rang and rang, but there was no answer. I left a message explaining what had happened, hoping he would call me back soon. As I hung up, I noticed something on the counter. A small, old-looking book. I hadn't seen it there before. I picked it up and opened it. The pages were yellowed with age, and the writing was hard to read, almost like it was a different language. I felt a strange compulsion to read the book. As I turned the pages, a cold breeze blew through the store, even though the door was closed. The lights flickered again, and the whispering grew louder, surrounding me. I dropped the book and stepped back. The whispering continued, growing louder. The whispering continued, growing louder and more intense. I covered my ears, but it didn't help. The voices were inside my head, saying things I couldn't understood, but their meaning was clear. They were angry. I ran to the door and tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. The whispering was deafening now. I felt like I was losing my mind. I banged to the door, screaming for help, but no one could hear me. Then, suddenly, the whispering stopped. The store was silent, the light stopped flickering, and the cold breeze disappeared. I turned around and saw the book lying on the floor, opened to the page with a strange symbol on it, and stared at the symbol. A circle with a star inside, surrounded by a strange writings. As I gazed at it, I felt a strange sense of calm. Fear was gone, replaced by a feeling of peace. I closed the book and placed it back on the counter. I didn't know what just happened, but I knew I had to get out of there. I grabbed my keys and went to the door. This time opened easily. I got in my car and drove away from the gas station as fast as I could. I didn't look back. When I got home, I called my manager again and told him I was quitting. I couldn't go back to that place. I never found out what caused the strange events that night. And I don't want to know. All I know is that I never work in graveyard shifts again.